Hello to the good-natured Ferdinand. He was unlucky to be born on a farm where they raise bulls for bullfighting. He dreams of finding himself in a blooming field and not in the arena face-to-face with the Matador, where his father already died. But fate decides otherwise. Will the hero be able to remain true to his principles and at the same time rescue his friends from a deadly trap? On a small Spanish farm, Señor Moreno's playful calves frolic in the yard, testing the strength of their still unhardened horns. Only the good-natured little Ferdinand stands apart. He prefers taking care of beautiful plants and inhaling the aroma of flower pollen. Suddenly, the calves interrupt their games to meet an approaching truck in which a matador arrives to choose a bull. Here on the farm, the dream of all the horned ones is to be the chosen one and go to the arena. The self-satisfied Valente also dreams of this. He imagines becoming a great, fierce bull who will wipe the arena floor with the matador, leaving no trace of him. Having become champion, he will live like a king until the end of his days. The timid little guapo also dreams of loud glory, but he gets scared at the mere mention of a matador. The naive guapo dreams even though he's been too thin since childhood to participate in a fight. Only Ferdinand doesn't want to lock horns and fight, for which the warlike Valente constantly teases him. The big bulls come out to show their strength to the matador. Just like Valente and Ferdinand's fathers, they are fierce rivals who clash violently in the arena. The guest's choice falls on Ferdinand's father, and his wounded rival has to accept defeat. Little Ferdinand, however, is not at all happy about this event. He doesn't want his father to leave to fight in the arena because he genuinely doesn't understand the dream of becoming a champion. His parents assure him that when the hero grows up, everything will change. But good-natured Ferdinand is sure he will never want to fight. But you can't become a champion?
Can I be a champ without fighting, maybe?
The father explains that the world works differently, and promising to return from the arena victorious, he gets into the matador's truck. That day, Ferdinand saw his father for the last time. At night, the truck returned to the farm empty. Grief-stricken and dejected, the hero is mocked by Valente and his father, and the little bull rushes to run away from the farmer, who catches him by surprise at the door. The hero flees as fast as he can and manages to run through the open gate. Trying to escape his pursuers, he ends up at a railway station where a freight train is just starting to move. Gathering all his strength, Ferdinand jumps into a car, which carries him far away from that terrible place. At the nearest stop, he gets out of his hiding place and runs as fast as he can in no particular direction. Suddenly, he's frightened by a dog's bark, and in panic, the little calf falls off a cliff, on the edge of which he sees a strange man and a dog. Sunny morning, Ferdinand wakes up in an unfamiliar building, and in the doorway appears a fragile girl with a daisy in her hair, who promises to take care of the little calf. Nina leads him outside and tells him that this is now his home. He releases the hero onto a vast field strewn with bright flowers. Thus, Ferdinand finds himself in the place of his dreams, where there's no need to lock horns or fight, and he can simply enjoy the beauty of the world and nature, surrounded by love and care. Ferdinand grows up in his new family and turns into a big, strong bull, still very kind and sincerely loving his owner. He lives in peace and harmony with all the animals on the farm, including the dog Paco, whom he calls Bro. Another sunny morning, the hero tries to cheer up the gloomy Paco, but he is for some reason gloomier than a cloud. Have you ever seen me happy? I have bad news. However, carefree Ferdinand forbids his friend from delivering bad news on the most anticipated day of the year, Flower Festival Day. Ignoring the dog's anxiety, the bull enthusiastically starts watering the flowers before heading to the festival in the city, where Nina and her father are already getting ready to go. But the man suddenly tells his daughter that her friend can no longer go to the city because he has grown into a huge bull and doesn't look as good-natured on the outside as he is on the inside. To brighten his daughter's sadness, he puts Paco in the truck, and the group heads off to the festival. Left alone, Ferdinand is tormented by longing and the desire to be in the city surrounded by flowers. He looks for a sign from above that will allow him to go to the festival.
If that orange doesn't fall, by the time I count to 3, I'm going. 1.
Ignoring the failed attempts, the hero gives in to his desire and rushes to the city. In the square, filled with townspeople and flowers, Ferdinand finds Nina and her father. But trying to get to his beloved owner, he gets tangled in some hanging laundry and awkwardly lands right on a bee stinger. His appearance at that moment horrifies Nina and the townspeople. They don't see a frightened, harmless bull, but a huge, enraged monster. Stung by the bee, mad with pain, Ferdinand rushes to run, destroying everything in his path. The police who arrive to protect innocent citizens from danger immediately descend upon him. This time, Ferdinand cannot escape the chase. The bull is bound with ropes and put into a truck right before Nina's eyes, though they won't allow her to take her friend home. After a long journey, Ferdinand sees a painfully familiar figure of a bull through the window of his cage and realizes with horror that he has been delivered to Señor Moreno's. Because the hero was rampaging in an attempt to get out of the truck, they throw a calming goat, Lupe, in with him. He tumbles out of the trailer with her, scaring her with his size. But unexpectedly for Lupe, the gentle giant asks her for help, which sends him into raptures. Without listening to Ferdinand's request to the end, Lupe, who dreams of becoming a fighting bull trainer, decides that this is exactly what the hero needs. The goat enthusiastically takes on these duties and leads the bull into the inner yard, where his old acquaintances, shocked by his size, meet him. Among them, Ferdinand notices Guapo and Valente. Lupe leads Ferdinand into a pen where she settles herself along with her charge. At night, while the goat is fast asleep, the hero attempts to escape from the farm, but it turns out that the fence surrounding it is electric. The next morning, the farm wakes up to the loud news that the famous Matador, El Primero, is on his way, looking for a bull for his final fight. The pompous man arrives in a luxurious red convertible and demands that Senor Moreno provides him with the best animal. The farmer immediately orders the animals to be driven into the arena. The untireless Lupe gives her charge a pep talk and anticipates Ferdinand's victory in the selection. El Primero and Senor Moreno hope for the same. However, once in the arena, the good-natured giant only timidly backs away from the Matador. Guapo shows off, still unable to overcome his childhood fear, and under El Primero's stern gaze, he feigns. The viewing ends in complete failure, but Senor Moreno manages to beg the Matador for one more chance. On the way back to their pens, the enraged bulls accuse Ferdinand of disgracing them all. The hero desperately tries to convince them that he doesn't want to fight, but his comrades, raised with the desire to get into the arena, don't understand him at all. Only Guapo doesn't take part in the argument. The group hears joyful exclamations from outside. They see a happy bull in a truck, and he tells him he has been chosen by El Primero. However, the truck takes him not to loud glory, but straight to the slaughterhouse. Valente tells Ferdinand that the farm now has a rule: you're either a fighter or your dinner. At night, after a terrible day in the world where he has been forced to be placed again, Ferdinand feels sad about his carefree, happy life on the farm next to Nina. The hero hears bitter sobbing in the dark and notices that Guapo is also awake. He is tormented by thoughts of Guapo, who never managed to overcome his fears. Guapo advises the hero to fight if he doesn't want to end up like poor Guapo. The next morning, as the bulls continue their training under the Matador's supervision, Ferdinand again keeps his distance and looks sadly towards the slaughterhouse, where he too might soon end up. His self-proclaimed coach, the goat Lupe, appears next to him, urging him to start training to impress El Primero. But instead, Ferdinand rushes to save a hare threatened by Bull's hooves. The hero manages to push him, but the terrified rabbit needs to be brought around with CPR and mouth-to-snout resuscitation. Ignoring Valente's mockery, the hero rushes to apologize to Guapo. The confused bull, distracted that he's doomed to follow in Guapo's footsteps, reveals his secret to him.
Can I tell you my terrible secret? Can I whisper it in your ear?
Sure.
I cannot see very
Then Ferdinand,
well.
who strives to help all living creatures, finds a solution for him.
Whoa.
Oh, I can see. Look, a rock. Another rock.
Lupe immediately furiously attacks her charge, urging him not to help the competition. But in response, Ferdinand suggests they escape together, and here Lupe lets slip the real reason for her desire to be a mentor. She thinks everyone hates goats. Ferdinand promises to show her her home, where Nina lives, where Lupe will be loved. The goat believes him and agrees to the plan. At night, the partners persuade a team of local hedgehogs to help them find a way out of the enclosed territory. They immediately set to work. But to Ferdinand and Lupe's horror, it turns out the only path to freedom is through the house. The team still manages to sneak past the people undetected, and only the living room separates the heroes from the exit to freedom. However, Ferdinand stops there. He notices a photo of his father, who died in the arena, and the walls are hung with numerous pairs of horns of all the bulls who believed they could defeat the Matador. Suddenly, the hero realizes that no one is destined to return from the arena. The bulls don't win. Ferdinand understands that those left on the farm are deluded in their dreams of victory and eternal glory. He refuses to escape right now and decides to go back to save his friends. Ferdinand returns to the pens and tells the others what he saw in Moreno's house. As proof, the hedgehogs bring a pair of the horns of such dreamers, just like them. The hero manages to convince everyone to run, except for Valente, who furiously attacks Ferdinand, urging him to fight, not run like a coward. The hero has to defend himself, and because of his enormous strength, the rival's horn breaks. This scene happens right in front of the Matador, and he chooses Ferdinand for his final fight, while the defeated Valente is taken away by truck to the slaughterhouse. Ferdinand and his friends prepare to escape. However, the hero refuses to abandon Guapo and Valente, and they head to the slaughterhouse to rescue them from the deadly trap. The trio manages to avoid the heavy presses and sharp knives of the conveyor belt and get out unharmed. After that, the whole group immediately loads into the Matador's truck to get away quickly. The friends escape right under the noses of Moreno and El Primero, picking up the timid hare along the way. The farmer and his assistants give chase, but they can't intercept the team on the highway. The chase continues through the city streets and leads them to the railway station. Ferdinand, who had once escaped this way, urges his friends towards a freight train that is starting to move. The group manages to catch it, but Ferdinand himself can't jump onto the accelerating platform and is captured by his pursuers, along with Lupe. The news report about the bulls' escape through the streets of Madrid is broadcast, and Paco and his owner see it. The owner immediately calls Nina so they can go rescue their lost friend. Soon, against his will, Ferdinand is prepared to enter the arena with El Primero. Lupe tries to encourage the bull, and then the doors close behind him, leaving him only the path to the arena. To thunderous applause, the Matador appears before the public, and then Ferdinand is driven out onto the arena. The big guy timidly looks around, ears dropping, and backs away instead of attacking El Primero. But the Matador's assistants skillfully hurt him and provoke him with pain. However, his desperate rush results in the muleta ending up on Ferdinand's horns, and a show unfolds before the spectators where the bull and the Matador have swapped places. Then the hero even manages to throw his opponent out of the arena. The enraged Matador returns to continue the fight and lunges at his victim. But Ferdinand, seeing a flower thrown by someone, refuses to fight and freezes in the middle of the arena, staring at the sword pointed at him. El Primero prepares to deliver the final blow, but suddenly the spectators intervene. The crowd whistles at the Matador, demanding that Ferdinand be spared, and El Primero has to back down. The hero sees Nina rushing across the arena with joyful cries, followed by his friends. Later, the whole friendly herd moves to Nina and her father's farm, where they are met by the dog Paco, along with the group Lupe, who for the first time finds herself in the embrace of a loving human. You'll find the movie title, as always, in the video description. And in the comments, write, do you believe that good can defeat evil in any situation? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next cool retelling.